Hello again. It's JJ again. I'm going to be talking to you today about foreclosure investing. Yes, yes, yes. Now, I like to make two promises with every training that I do. The first promise is that you can go out tonight and you can put what I'm teaching to use. Now, how fast that translates into money in your pocket, well, that's between you, your God, and your ability to do some elbow grease. All right. Now, if you have questions that I can't answer tonight, or that are too advanced for this 101 level class, I will give you an opportunity to dig deeper. We are going to have an opportunity for you to dig deeper on this class with a 2-hour workshop on the 31st, Saturday morning, okay? If this is really like your jam and you're like, I'm going to do this, we're going to have an opportunity for you to purchase a package that's going to give you the forms you need, the contracts, and all those kinds of things. In our workshop, we'll go through scripts, we'll do role play, and we'll get you comfortable with the idea that you can go out and make money with foreclosure consulting. What I'm doing today is just a top of the waves overview of how the process works so you can decide whether or not you want to join us on that Saturday morning workshop. All right. Before we get deeper into it, if you want to ask a question, please put them in the comments. You can go to askjjc.com. You can go to ladiesofwealth.com. And if you go to our new podcast website, there's actually a button there that you can leave me a voice message and just ask your question. And I love those kinds of questions because then I can work them into the podcast. Now look. How many of you have been coming to our Real Estate 101 classes since we started teaching them in 2013? You have probably noticed that for the last, 13 to 25, what is that, 12 years? Y'all have probably noticed that this class that I do is a fundraiser. And for the last, when did I join John Maxwell? 2016, 2017? For the last 8 or 9 years, this class, the Real Estate Third Thursdays, has been a fundraiser for our Global Youth Initiative. So if you screenshot my slides, if you like what I'm doing, if you're listening to the podcast and you just really, really enjoy it, please give us a donation for our Global Youth Initiative of Northwest Louisiana, as well as our Global Youth Initiative of Erath County. So Northwest Louisiana, that's the Shreveport-Bossier area, going up towards Texarkana. And then also here in where I currently reside in Erath County, that is Texas, a couple hours from the DFW Metroplex. You can give a donation of any size with PayPal, Cash App, Queen of Cash Flow, and actually we have Venmo too now. You do Queen of Cash Flow and just make sure you put Global Youth Initiative or GYI or just put kids. You know what? Just put kids in the comments and we'll make sure that it goes to the right place. Okay. I do want to say, if you are looking for a donation that's an actual tax deductible donation, get with me offline because we can accept that through our church, which is also a sponsor of Global Youth Initiative, Northwest Louisiana, and Global Youth Initiative of Erath County. Okay. So I should probably, did I say contributions on this? Well, I did say donations. I need to change that terminology. Let me change that terminology because you know what? I just had a briefing not long ago that if you're not giving tax donations, you should call it contributions, not donations. Okay. So I might need to do a class on that. That might be a good class. I might do a class on that later. But for now, let me just go ahead and change that on my slides so it's correct. If you really like what we're doing, we appreciate contributions of any size, even $1. People don't even think about it. Like if you only have $1 or $2, it's a shift in your energy when you give that tender to somebody else in exchange for something. In this case, you are making a contribution for us to help do something wonderful in the lives of these young people. And it shifts your energy. So it's one thing for me to go to YouTube and take the free YouTube University class, right? It's another thing for me to pay somebody for the value that they are offering. And hopefully you're paying somebody who's offering better value than you can get for free, right? Like it really upsets me when so many people go and get real estate and other coaching from people who don't even tell you the real deal. Like they make all these big lofty promises and we get caught up in, they sell the sizzle and there's no steak. And I'm over here with a big old steak, like, come on. So but it changes the dynamics. And that's why some of these people that have very empty promises, that's why some of these people who buy into that actually do make some changes, because you've exchanged tender. Now you have changed energy. Okay. And so if you're going to do that, do it with me, y'all. If you're going to give somebody, if you're going to pay somebody to teach you real estate, pay somebody who's actually going to teach you real estate and actually explain to you the ins and outs, the good, the bad, the ugly. All right. Yeah, I'm going to be biased there. All right. All right. So we're going to start with a little bit of foundation. Now, again, I have been teaching foreclosure consulting since 2013. And actually, I was a founding treasurer of the Maryland Association of Professional Foreclosure Consultants. And I'm pretty sure that kicked off in like 2007 or 2008. And so I've been on the periphery of teaching this stuff for a long time. Okay. This is one of my favorite things to teach, because it makes such a difference in the lives of people who want to get started in real estate investing and don't have the money to go out and buy a house. Okay. And so, for me, one of the reasons that this is really important, and one of the reasons that I do these next couple of slides is that it's really important to me that you understand the foundation of why I would teach real estate when everybody doesn't really want to buy a house. Okay. There's a ton of different ways to profit from real estate. Even if you don't buy it, you can profit from the property itself and get the money, the cash flow from it. There's all kinds of industries around real estate, if you have a great eye for design, clearly I don't. If you look behind me, I just like what I like, right? But if you have a really good eye for design, staging properties and things like that, oh my goodness, you can make a lot of money helping investors stage properties. Or maybe what I call ancillary services, okay, down here at the bottom, things like vending machines and ATMs. I'm always scoping out, like, where would I put an ATM? Where would I put a vending machine if this person would let me, or if that landlord would let me, I'm always scoping that out. And so there's lots of ways to make money with real estate and through real estate investing or helping real estate investors. And all of these ways combine together to create win-win-win solutions. One of the biggest and coolest things I like about real estate, and again, I know some of you have heard this slide for 12 years in a row, all right, but it bears repeating. While it's always important in a financial planner stance to have different investments. Like, I would never recommend that people put all their investment in one basket. Like, don't put all your investment in the stock market. Don't put all your investment in the real estate. Don't put all your money under the mattress. Okay. I'm not going to be mad at you if you have a little bit of mattress money. I'm not going to be mad at you if you're in the stock market. I'm not going to be mad at you if you're in real estate. I'm going to be happy if you're in a bunch of different things. Okay. Now, what you're investing in is going to be different based on your financial standing, your relationship with debt, and all those kinds of things. And that's a whole nother discussion for another day. But we want to diversify. The reason that I like real estate to add to someone's portfolio is that in my life, it is one of the fastest and best ways to maintain and build wealth. Okay. I have seen, you notice in my second bullet, I say that real estate is the only ethical and repeatable way that I've personally seen people build financial independence in as little as 3 years. Okay. And what I mean by repeatable is it works for everybody who does it. See, everything doesn't always work for everybody. And I know some of you out there are going to be like, yeah, but I tried to invest in real estate and I lost so much money. If you come to my classes, my real estate 101 classes often enough, you will understand the mistakes that you probably made, or the market just bit you. That downturn in 2008. Yeah, I got bit a little bit too, because I didn't realize what I didn't realize. I didn't know what I didn't know. I went with the flow, and the flow bit me in the behind. Okay. So, that happens sometimes, but you know what happens after that? Those of us who've been through that, we have developed scar tissue, and we can help others avoid it next time. Okay. And so what I mean by repeatable is if you follow the rules of real estate investing, you are going to make money. All right. Now let me show you ways that you can make money in real estate investing. There's many more. Okay. I have a book around here somewhere that's like 1,001 ways to make money with real estate investing. And basically it's like each of these with like 20 different variations or something like that, but these here are a bunch of ways that you can make money with real estate investing. And what I've done here is I've arranged them such that, oh, wait, if you're on the podcast, let me explain this. Okay. So if you're on the podcast, you're going to want to go to my YouTube channel, because in order for me to read the slide, it's going to take forever. But what I've got is 3 columns of ways to profit with real estate, whether you buy the house or not. Okay. And on my next slide, what I've done is I have shaded in blue the first 2 columns, which are ways that you can profit without buying the property. Now, you could conceivably profit without buying the property if you're dealing with land or flipping or landlording or leapfrogging. But, like in order to really flip the house, somebody's got to buy it, right? So whether that's you or somebody else, somebody's got to buy it, okay? Land, if you're making a land deal, well, I would put that under deal making rather than a land deal, unless you are doing something with the land, okay? Now, what I've done on the next slide, for those of you who are listening audio only later on, is I have highlighted in green the first column, which are ways that you can profit when you start off with nothing. Okay. So everybody wants to make it rich in real estate investing. Everybody wants to have 100 doors by next year. Everybody wants to have 1 million, 2 million, 5 million portfolio that they control. Now, honestly, I want to own. I don't want to control. And when I say own, I don't mean I want to own. I want my LLC to own. I want my trust to own. I don't even need my name to be anywhere on that property. Okay. But I need the property to not be somebody else's property, because it's going to take me 30 years to pay it off. Okay. Not my jam. Maybe yours, not my jam. Okay. Unless it's the property I'm living in. And even then, I really don't like that model, because it's too much risk of losing the property you have worked so hard on and poured so much into. Okay. But in this column of 20 plus ways to profit with real estate, even if you don't have money to start, are things like bird dogging, wholesaling, lease to own, deal making, foreclosure consulting, what we're going to talk about tonight, subject to acquisitions, virtual assistants, and ancillary services. Okay. And so we're going to talk today about subject to. And no matter what thing we're doing with real estate, now somebody ought to put this in the chat, because I know y'all already know what the number 1 rule of real estate investing is. But I may have some new people in here today. So let me go ahead and just remind everybody, just a quick little refresher. The number 1 rule of real estate investing is you make your money when you buy. That's right. You make your money when you buy. And one more time for the people in the back, you make your money when you buy. So that means if you are buying a property and you want to become a landlord, you are not buying a property at retail price and expecting it to appreciate maybe one day, and you're going to lose $200 on it every month, because one day it's going to triple in price. See, that's not making your money when you buy. You make your money when you buy, when you get that property at so much of a discount that if you had to sell it in a hurry, you could unload it on another investor in a hurry at a small profit, and they profit, you profit, and whoever ultimately ends up living in that house profits. That's how you make your money when you buy. When you make your money when you buy, you have cash flow coming in day one. Or you have an exit strategy that's going to give you some serious cash. Now, I understand there's no guarantees in real estate. I've been in a property where we've opened up something and it was like, oh no, now what? And sometimes that happens, right? But if you buy it cheap enough, even when the oh no hits the fan, you're still able to make some money on that property. And that's why we teach property acquisition the way we teach property acquisition. You got to make your money when you buy. Okay. You've got to make your money when you buy. And because a lot of us who want to get into real estate are getting into real estate because we don't have any money, I highly recommend that you stay on the side of the property continuum that doesn't require a lot of money to get started. Okay. I know this flies in the face of a lot of people who want to teach you, go out and get other people's money, go big or go home, have faith in yourself. If, this person on their first deal, they made $100,000 with no experience in real estate investing. And what they don't tell you is, yeah, that person made $100,000. They never had no experience in real estate investing, but they've been an appraiser for 10 years. Or they've been a home inspector for 10 years, or they're a plumber or an electrician or a carpenter or something related to properties where they know what a property needs and what the values are. So yeah, maybe they never bought and sold a house as an investor. Maybe they've never been a landlord, but they knew enough that they didn't come into that situation with no knowledge at all. Okay. And I'm not saying it won't happen on your first deal. I'm just saying most of those testimonials, those 80,000, 100,000, 200,000 profit on your first deal, usually those testimonials have someone on that team that knows what they are doing. Okay. So I don't want people to be dissuaded. Okay. But for many of you watching me today, just an extra $2,000-$3,000 a month would be like, it would give you some breathing room, right? When the check engine light came on, you wouldn't be so stressed because you can do the next month. You're going to have more income coming in. You're going to have extra $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. And you can just, you see, most of us don't need to be a millionaire tomorrow. We just need some at the end of our month. And right now, with the way the economy is going, it's more important than ever to build breathing room into our financial lives. And that's what real estate investing, that's what foreclosure consulting can do for us. Getting started in real estate. And again, we are going to be talking about foreclosure consulting, but I want to kind of cover bird dogging and wholesaling because that's how a lot of people get started. Bird dogging is finding a property for another investor, which is great. I find you send me a property that you think I might be able to buy. I find out who the owner is. I do all the things, and I buy the property. And then what I will do is give you a referral fee, a cut, a commission, a gift, whatever's legal in the state that you reside in the state that I reside in the state the property's in, right? Like I try to cover all my bases because I ain't trying to go to jail. All right. That's bird dogging. The thing that I've found with a lot of people in bird dogging is you can say you were the first person that brought it, but a lot of times that investor isn't going to loop back and make sure you get paid. And sometimes it's not the investor's fault. A lot of times it is, but sometimes it's not the investor's fault. Like many of y'all saw that red church in Blanchard that we were going to do a subject to deal on, and me and my husband were going out there and we were fixing it up and cleaning it up, and we were actually fixed up quite a bit of it, but there was some serious things that needed fixing that we weren't going to touch until the property was actually ours. And then I retired from the military and moved out to Texas and realized I don't feel like driving 5 hours each weekend to have church. And the Lord didn't call me to it, so we let it go, right? But with that church, when I went back through my records, there were like 6 other wholesalers who had sent me that property. And so, if you're getting a lot, if it's this juicy property, who's to know? Who's to say who actually gave it to you first, right? Well, that's why I recommend, instead of bird dogging, that you take bird dogging to the next level, which is wholesaling. Now you're finding properties for the investor to buy, but you're taking it a step further and you're locking down the deals with a sales contract. So instead of just saying, hey, JJ, this vacant property on such and such street might be something you could buy, what you're doing is, hey, JJ, there's this vacant property and I contacted the owner and they're willing to sell it to you for $100,000. It's worth $150,000, but it needs about 20 of work, and they're willing to sell it to you for $100,000 cash offer, quick close as is. Okay. That's the difference. The difference now is the wholesaler has controlled the deal by locking it under contract. If I buy that contract and that wholesaler did their part to build their fee in, then I have to pay them. I can't skip out on paying them. Okay. And so why would I bring that up on a class about foreclosures? Because what I'm going to teach you about foreclosures really requires that you understand the wholesale process. So I want you to go out. If this is new to you, I want you to go out to my YouTube channel and look up Wholesaling 101. And I think we did it about 2 or 3 months ago. Wholesaling 101, you will be able to understand the wholesaling process, and it'll make more sense to you. Now, look, if you haven't watched it, don't turn off this dial. Don't flip, don't swipe. Stay listening, because it'll do a couple things for you. You're going to get a foundation about foreclosures. And then when you go watch the wholesaling video, that will make some more sense. And when you come back to the foreclosing workshop on the 31st, it's going to be locked in. You're going to be amazed at how profitable your behavior, your actions, your phone calls are going to be when you have got this whole thing reverberating in your head like that. It's going to be amazing. Oh my goodness. All right. I'm so excited for you. Oh, you're going to make some money this year, y'all. Okay. So what foreclosure consulting is basically the same thing as wholesaling, but it's got an extra step of you helping people to try to keep their home. The part where the wholesaling comes in is, oh, I don't have a nice way to say it. I'm trying to work on seasoning my words with salt, but there's just not a nice way to say it. Most people who are facing foreclosure have already tried everything they can try to stay in that property. They've borrowed from everybody they can borrow from. They have worked out everything they could with the bank, and they are up against a wall. If somebody doesn't come in and buy that property from them and make the loan current, they are going to be in foreclosure, and that's going to hinder their future for the next 7 to 10 years. So what we as foreclosure consultants understand is that we want to help people stay in their home. But a lot of times they're not going to be able to stay in their home. And that's when we work with them to figure out how much can they realistically sell this property for, what work needs to be done, and can we find an investor that will come in and buy the property. Now, in some states, the person who's the foreclosure consultant turns around and buys the property. In many states, that's not legal. Okay, so you got to understand your jurisdiction. We'll talk a little bit more about that as the evening progresses, but just know that there are different ways to help the homeowner. We're going to talk about them just now, but ultimately, many people who are facing foreclosure are going to end up losing the house. And I feel like it's a wonderful way to allow them to move on in their lives with dignity, to allow them to escape foreclosure, retain their credit and their financial standing, and move on with their life with a clean slate. See, people think bankruptcy and foreclosure is a clean slate, and it's not. It feels like it in the moment. But if you've ever been broke like that, you know what I'm talking about. It's not a clean slate. It's a mistake that hangs over your head. And so many people get stuck in this cycle over and over and over and over again. And we have an opportunity to break this cycle. We have an opportunity to profit while helping someone else change their family's financial future. What a wonderful, wonderful way for us to change our family's financial future. Before I describe foreclosure consulting a little bit more, I do want to talk about this slide, because for years, all the experts have been saying, oh, foreclosures are going to happen. Foreclosures are going to happen. It's going to be dramatic. And I still think that we're going to have a resurgence in foreclosures, like they are steadily climbing. So when we go to the courthouse steps, we are seeing more and more, but they're not an onslaught of foreclosures like the financial predictions of a couple of years ago. See, a couple of years ago when COVID was happening, a lot of the banks were offering forbearances on foreclosures, which basically meant you didn't have to pay your loan. And what they were figuring that was going to happen was people were going to use their money for their daily living expenses instead of paying their loan. And because they're in this forbearance, they're going to use that money for their living expenses. And when the forbearance was over, they were expecting that a lot of people weren't going to have the money they needed to get that loan caught back up. Now, some of you may remember I had a property at that time with a mortgage on it. And that particular property, I went ahead and entered the forbearance process because I had always helped other people in foreclosure consulting, but I had never been through it myself and seen it through to the end. So I was just a curious soul. But I tell you what I did. I took every one of those mortgage payments and put them in a separate savings account, so that when the forbearance period was over, the bank was shocked. They were like, well, we need to re-roll this over for you. We need to do this. We need to do that. And what the banks have done is they have made it, or had done at that time, is they had made it almost impossible for you to get out of the forbearance cycle. Well, I had the money in a savings account. I had no intention of not paying my mortgage. And thankfully, praise the Lord, I was able to maintain my lifestyle. And I simply went through the process to see what it was like to go through the process. What kind of games was the bank going to play and things like that. And so it took forever for me to get the bank to let me bring my loan up to date. They just could not believe that I had all that money sitting in a savings account. And so we all thought, all of us financial people thought, that it was going to crash. The run up in the prices, y'all might remember in COVID, the prices were skyrocketing, plus all these forbearances and all these creative products, and people weren't paying their loans. We just knew that once the courts opened up, it was going to be an onslaught of foreclosures. Now, we can complain a lot about the economy. I do not like paying $7 for a dozen eggs. But a lot of the financial decisions that have made other economic things a little tougher for everybody right now, it are also the same financial decisions that stayed that level of foreclosures. So what's happened is, let's see if I've got a blank one. Can you see the back? Yeah, you guys can see that too bad. So what's happened is, what should have happened, hold on. What should have happened with the foreclosures is they were nothing during COVID. They should have shot way up. Okay, that's what the foreclosures should have done. Okay, all the things that are not all. I don't want to be an all or nothing, but many of the financial policies that have been put in place that we don't like. What those policies did was it kind of flattened the curve a little bit. So, we talked about wearing masks during COVID to flatten the curve. Okay. So what they did with the foreclosures is they kind of flattened it out. So it didn't have that steep rise to ruin our economy. Okay, so we don't have another crash like we had back in 2008, 2007. All right, so they made it so slower. But from my perspective as a financial planner and someone who studies the markets a little bit, this is not financial advice at all, but just from my perspective, they staved it off a little bit. Okay, but they didn't fix the problem. The problem is people don't have enough income to maintain their lifestyles, and people don't have enough income to maintain these properties, and property values everywhere are skyrocketing, and mortgage rates are skyrocketing, and people are getting pushed into these refinances that really chain them against the wall that they don't even realize it, and those chickens are coming home to roost soon. When that is, I don't know, but it kills me. I even had somebody I went to lunch with one time, and they were like, let me take you to lunch and let me ask you about this. And I told them don't do it. And they were like, thank you so much for telling me to do this. We did this refinance and now our bills are lower. And y'all, they had like 7 years left to pay off their house. And then they refinanced into a 30-year mortgage just to save $200 or $300 a year. And I'm like, you can stop eating out. I mean, a month. Just to save $200 or $300 a month. I mean, you can stop eating out and save $200 or $300 a month for many of us. Like our meal that day was like $70, right? like I was like, no, pay off your house, have it paid off in 7 years. No, they extended their term. Okay. And so now what the bank is doing, I'm not going to draw it out, but I probably need to. Now what the bank is doing is the bank is making all that money. Well, guess what's going to happen 10, 15 years from now, when those people are, because they're already looking at retiring and they're going to get ready to retire. They're getting ready to retire. That's why they wanted to refinance and lower their costs. And what's going to happen 10 years from now when they can't keep working? Like, oh, it's okay. I'm going to retire and I'm just going to have a little part-time job at Walmart. It's going to be great. Yeah, it's going to be great for like the first 10 years. But what happens with medical conditions? What happens with inflation? What happens with blah, 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 blah? It would have been so much better to just stick it out for 7 years and have a paid off house. But people aren't doing that. You know why people aren't doing that? Because it costs $7 a dozen for eggs. More if you want the good eggs. Yeah, I'm about to buy me some chickens. I have one of the dads was showing me the chicken website where I can go and buy chickens for like, buy little chicks for like $3 or $4 a pop. I'm like, you know what? That might be I'm in Texas now. That might be a good investment for me. Right. But seriously, they staved off the crash, but there's still a problem looming. There's still a problem looming. And unless we do something in this economy to help people be able to have enough money to actually pay for their housing and their food and their childcare and all those necessary things. We're not even talking about McDonald's every night, right? Unless something changes, we are still heading for a high incidence, in my opinion, of foreclosures down the line. It's just, instead of being boom all at once, boom all at once, it may be a slow ride. Okay. Either way, you want to be ready to help people and help yourself at the same time. Okay. So I don't want to make it sound self-serving, and I don't want to make it sound altruistic either, because I'm not in business to help you to not make money.